Well, hello, welcome to live coverage for race 1 of the Euroformula Open. My name is Harry Benjamin. Thank you for your company this afternoon. We're in France at the Circuit Paul Ricard in Le Castellet near Marseille in the south of France, but we're not enjoying the typical weather that the south of France might bring. It is rained a bit earlier on this afternoon and it is getting very grey. 15 turns though at Paul Ricard, 5.8 kilometres, 3.6 miles, and you can see the air temperature has been going down all day, currently at 15 degrees, and it is a bit chilly. I can confirm I'm wearing a coat, but it is round 2 of the 2021 Euroformula Open Series, part of the road to Formula 1, supporting the International GT Open Series and uncovering the stars of the future. And we had an intense qualifying earlier with Jack Crawford winning out, and he is your pole man, and it is an all-American front row with Cameron Dass second, and Rafael Villagomez makes up your top 3. And it was a really entertaining qualifying, actually, a bit of a tale of two halves. And I think from the other racing series we've had here around Circuit Paul Ricard, we're going to be in store for a tale of two halves in terms of racing. So all to play for here. Track limits a huge issue throughout qualifying, so we'll see if that plays a factor today. We're riding on board the DriveX team there. We were with Enzo Trulli, the 2021 Formula 4 UAE champion, and of course son of Monaco Grand Prix race winner Jarno Trulli, who is here today, and who's also here today is Elliot, and he's alongside me, and I think we're in store for a very fun race.
Yeah, it should be pretty thrilling, especially with this slightly different track condition to what we had in qualifying earlier today. You know, although all the drivers have come out on slick tyres, they have been told it is a wet track.
Well, yes, the start is going to be very interesting because there is a bit of drizzle in the air, although I think it has stopped actual spitting of raindrops, which has been on and off all day. But just looking at the commentary box now, it does look like it's just a little bit. There's a bit of precipitation in the air. It's very grey. It's clouding over the more and more. So we could well end up getting a bit of rain throughout the race, which is going to cause all sorts of havoc. But it's a really great grid that we've got for you. 12 drivers in the field, and we've got a rookie leading the way as well, and 5 rookies in total throughout, with Jack Crawford, Enzo Trulli, Casper Stevenson, Enzo Scionti and Zdeněk Chovanec are your rookies, so we can take you through the field. That is your number 66 you're looking at now. That is the rookie Zdeněk Chovanec, the Venezuelan-born Czech. 2020 Formula 4 UAE, finished 7th in that with 2 podiums before joining here, so he'll be looking for a good run. Elliot, is there anyone you've got your eye on in particular?
Oh, difficult question there because of this change in conditions. In the dry, I think it was Motor Park that set the pace, and they were actually running more wing than the rest of the team, so definitely them. But in these conditions, thinking back to the last time we had wet conditions, I would have said Carlin, but they're not here. So I think it's anyone's today, especially if it does get wetter.
It is all to play for, and of course the results of this race, the top 6 are reversed, so whoever finishes in 6th come the end of today's race will start race 2 from pole position. So there could be a bit of strategy involved there as well midway through the race for some people around the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th mark, trying to make up a bit of ground for race 2 tomorrow. But it's the 13th running of the Euroformula in 2021. We've got a new chassis which was introduced last year, the Dallara 320, which seems to be going down very well, especially with that man, Jack Crawford, your pole sitter from America, the Red Bull-backed 16-year-old from Charlotte, and he's been a Red Bull Junior for just not very long, really, actually, only about a year, but had a good run out last race, but could only take part in one because he wasn't old enough. And then in 2nd place currently is Cameron Dass, who absolutely dominated round 1 in Portimao, winning every single race. Jack Crawford giving him a run for his money now. In 3rd, the Mexican Rafael Villagomez, who will be ruining that his time in qualifying got deleted for track limits because he could well have been a little bit further up the grid, but it was so tight either way. 4th, the number 27, that is Louis Foster for Crypto Tower Racing Team. He might be looking at the strategy game once again, as he did in Portimao, trying to get that fastest lap time, especially in race 2. We'll find out tomorrow on that one. Well, he goes from 4th. It's Nazim Azman in 5th place in the number 18 car, going for Crypto Tower Racing Team as well, the reigning champions of Euroformula. Enzo Trulli for DriveX School goes from 6th, the Italian UAE F4 champion. Getting a bit of last-minute team talk. And then behind him is another rookie, Casper Stevenson, the Brit for Van Amersfoort Racing. Finished 3rd last year in British Formula 4, looking to make his mark in Euroformula this year. Josh Mason, another Brit from Birmingham for R Racing, goes from 8th position. He seems to be feeling good. He'll be disappointed with that qualifying, especially having qualified so high up the grid in Portugal, but hopefully some overtakes on the cards for him and maybe pole position for that 6th place. There is 9th place man, Felipe Camanieres in the number 88. And then rounding out the top 10, the second of the Enzos at DriveX School is Enzo Schionti, again another American from the USA, 16 years old. And he is another graduate. Well, she's not graduate. It's currently, well, the 2021 F4 UAE starts. It's sort of a weird timing, isn't it? It starts from the winter in the off season. 11th place though is your final rookie on the grid. It's Zdeněk Chovanec. And starting in 12th will be Vivian Kisei, highly rated Audi driver. 2018 Audi R8 LMS Cup. She came 2nd in that back in 2018. W Series as well in 2019. She'll be hoping to make some positions up throughout the race. And Elliot, the race has been declared wet.
Yeah, and despite that, all the drivers are on slick tyres. We actually had this very similarly at one of the other races this weekend, and I was, watching the trolleys where they bring the spare tyres back really, really closely to see if there were any that still had slick tyres on them. And annoyingly, all the teams brought 2 sets of spare tyres to the grid with them, so I was clueless as to which ones they'd actually gone with, based on the fact that they brought both back. Looking at the weather, we've got a really strong tailwind going down the pit straight.
Well, here we go then for race 1 here at the circuit Paul Ricard in France. This is his starting grid. It is Jack Crawford and Cameron Dass in row 1, making it Team Motor Park 1-2. Rafael Villagomez in 3rd and Louis Foster in the Crypto Tower Racing Team is 4th. Nazim Azman in the other Crypto Tower Racing Team is 5th. He goes ahead of Enzo Trulli, Casper Stevenson and Josh Mason goes from 8th in the R Racing machine. Felipe Camanieres in the Crypto Tower Racing Team, just ahead of Enzo Schionti, who will go from 10th. Then it's Zdeněk Chovanec for R Racing, and Vivian Kisei for Team Motor Park will round out the grid on row 6 in 12th position. And it is going to be a very, very exciting race. I don't think I would dare to predict it, Elliot.
No, I wouldn't predict it either. And obviously, I don't think I'm allowed to make predictions anyway. But with the, as I was saying slightly before, actually the wind's died down a little bit, but you can see the flags on the pit straight, so I expect the weather to still play a factor into this race, even if it stays dry.
Lots of famous names from Euroformula who have gone on to make it quite big in other championships. You may recognise a few, including Carlos Sainz Jr., Yuki Tsunoda, Jack Aitken as well, all making it to Formula One from Euroformula. And even across the pond in IndyCar, we had the likes of Colin Hurt and Alex Palou, who actually starts in the top 6, I believe, for the Indy Grand Prix later on today. So Euroformula, a brilliant breeding ground for the next generation of talent. You can see there as we go around the formation that there's actually quite a bit of debris offline from, I'm assuming that's probably from the other racing series that are going around there. So you go offline ever so slightly and it's going to really affect your tyre wear.
Yeah, that's bits of rubber from tyres from up-series and also grits. We can see there the smallest bits of gravel across this mostly asphalt circuit. They get swept on, and also kind of like paint wrap as well, especially on the sports cars we have racing here. So when they have damage, not only does the actual the bumper come off, but the actual stuff it's wrapped in can sometimes come off as well and just stays on the circuit until it's blown away. They've reattached the bollards to some of these corners after they were wiped out this morning in quite entertaining style, actually. We had a very long discussion about how the enforcement of track limits took place through various means at Paul Ricard.
Yes, we were not impressed either with the disrespect towards the floppy bollards in particular, I believe, technical term now. But we are gearing up for this formation lap, and trying to get that heat into the tyres is going to be a major concern going on to this formation lap, because the temperature has dropped quite significantly since qualifying.
Yeah, and because we have such a long straight here, although there is a chicane in the middle, it means you build up that tyre temp and then you go down the straight and you lose it. And in Euroformula, we do have a rule that you're not really supposed to be weaving at all to warm up the tyres. If you're turning the wheel very, very slightly, drivers can sometimes get away with it, but when it's kind of obvious that you're changing line essentially on the track by weaving, then the stewards do not look kindly upon that.
Well, Jack Crawford will lead them round as he gears up to line up in the first grid position. Cameron Dass is second, and he actually, because he won so many trophies in Portimao, he had to buy another suitcase while he was out there to fit them all in. So I imagine he'll be wanting to buy another suitcase again, or if he's had some forward planning, he might have bought one just in case, because he does go from second and could well nip into first. But overtaking can be a tad difficult round here, I think that's fair to say, but with a good bit of strategy, a good bit of slipstream and hard braking, it's possible.
Yeah, and it's all about looking after the tyres as well, because they can go the distance, and they can go the distance very well, but it takes a good driver to make that happen.
Well, there is number 52 coming round now to line up in pole position. Jack Crawford will lead them away. Cameron Dass in second. Rafael Villagomez in third. It's Louis Foster in fourth. Nazim Asman will go from fifth. Enzo Trulli, Casper Stevenson, Josh Mason, Philippe Camanieres, Enzo Schionti, Zdeněk Chovanec will go from 11th. And there you see, just pulling over to the right, will be Vivian Kasei in 12th position, as we wait for the green flag to fly at the back of the field, signifying we are ready to race, and it is all eyes to the lights and foot to the floor as we go racing in France. We might have a stall in the back there, yellow flags wailing. It looks like it might be a Josh Mason maybe, or Vivian Kasei right at the back, but it looks like Jack Crawford has got away well, and he's leading into turn one from Cameron Dass. Rafael Villagomez will slot into third as they make their way through turns 1 and 2, all seemingly untroubled so far, with Jack Crawford actually managing to get a bit of an edge on Cameron Dass as they make their way down now into the 3, 4, 5 and 6 twisty turny bit of the track. Very technical there.
Yeah, and going down to the hairpin, great launch from both of the front row starters. There's actually a grippy side track. Josh Mason getting his nose in there. He is going for 7th place. It was Enzo Schionti, the second DriveX school car, that got stalled on the line. I think he did get going. I can look at the pit straight now and I can't see him, so I imagine he did set off. We're now on board with Enzo Trulli, his teammate. He is currently in 5th place, so he's made up a spot from the start. Currently around a second behind. The drivers are coming into the chicane right now. Crawford keeping it very tidy through there. Drivers don't want to go on the marbles that are offline, or basically just work the tyres too hard on this opening lap. Everything's a bit cold. They don't quite know what the limits of the car and what the track are right now. And Josh Mason, though, is actually going to go for an overtake, I think. He's going to do it down the straight. He's
going to have a look. He was very annoyed with how his performance was in the last round, and he's gone there on the inside line. Will he be able to make it work, though, down into the braking zone? He's going to have the advantage. And he does, and he's through. Josh Mason through on Philippe Camanieres for 7th plays there. Camino has nothing he could do there. Forced onto the outside line, onto the dust and gravel, and he has to make way for Josh Mason, who makes his way through there as we see a couple of teammates. They're getting very close, but that is Jack Crawford leading the way now through from Cameron Dass and Louis Foster to the top three, actually. Louis Foster has got Rafael Villagomez on the first lap, so Villagomez has fallen down one place behind Louis Foster, but Jack Crawford, the rookie, leads the way as we come across the timing line for the first lap. It's Crawford, Dass, Foster, Villagomez, Stevenson, Enzo Trulli has managed to get up to 6th place. Philippe Canilleras, Zdeněk Chovanec, Nazim Azman, Vivian Kasei, Enzo Scionti, and according to our timing screen, Josh Mason has fallen all the way to the back. So has something happened to Josh Mason?
I'm not entirely sure. We can't. So the white car there is of Enzo Trulli in the background. Possibly something has. And Nazim Azman also actually made a bad start, dropping to 9th place. So we've got another unknown occurring here. Enzo Trulli, Josh Mason is behind him, so we've picked him up on the cameras. That's probably a faulty transponder. So we aren't picking up his second sector times, but he is still in 7th place. Yeah,
he's right behind Enzo Trulli as well, as we look at the Venezuelan-born Czech of Zdeněk Chovanec, who is coming under a lot of pressure here. Will he be able to fend them off in the turquoise car? It's turquoise car versus the orange-tinted car, the number 18. And he can't do it. He is unfortunately falling back through the field for the number 66, Zdeněk Chovanec, struggling there, and he has to make way for Josh Mason once again. But look there, Jack Crawford actually starting to make a little bit of a gap there. Well, the top two really making a little bit of a gap to Louis Foster, and then Villagomez further back on screen, and Stevenson 1.5 back from the lead as well. So it's actually quite tight for the top 5.
Yeah, and an incident involving cars 66 and 88, that's Zdeněk Chovanec and Philippe Caminiars that we just saw at chicane, is under investigation. I think that's a bit severe for how little impact there was there. Crawford, the first driver to lap sub 2 minutes, so he is already on the pace pretty much. With these cool temperatures, some of the drivers predicted it would be faster. However, I don't quite know the full tyre allocation of all these drivers right now, which tyres they're using, some of them using totally new tyres or used, so potentially that will impact the ultimate pace they can achieve in this race.
Rafael Villagomez trying to get back at Louis Foster for all he might for 3rd place on that podium. 6th place currently occupied by Enzo Trulli. That will be pole position if he can hold that throughout the end of the race, but it's still a long way to go yet. Jack Crawford does indeed set the fastest lap of the race with a 1:56.4. Nearly a second now gap back to Cameron Dass for 2nd. So at the moment, it looks like Crawford's got the better of him.
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult for Cameron to overtake. Here's a replay of the start.
Here we had 2 slow starters.
Yeah. Nazim
Azman,
the front one, and Enzo Sconti at the back. And actually the medical car was just trundling along at the back, waiting for them to set off. So Azman lost, he was back up to 9th by the end of the lap, but he'd gone down to 11th. So he benefited from 2 hours. Enzo Trulli going off there. And that is at the very long turn 10, so very tricky corner, and he got through there eventually fine. We move back to the battle taking place further ahead. Rafael Villagomez in 4th, Zdeněk Chovanec ahead of Philippe Caminiars. So Caminiars was attacking him at the chicane on the previous lap, but he is still ahead. There's Enzo Scionti and Vivian Castell at the back of the field as well.
Yeah, having a Scionti trying to recover from that poor start there, but at least he was able to get going. Doesn't look like he has the faster car right now, but we're going to focus on this battle a little bit further up between Chovanec and Caminières, who's going to have a little look. Caminières on Chovanec, can't do it, has to take the wider line, will swoop by, and he'll get the better traction coming out of this corner. With a little bit of slipstream, can Philippe Caminières make it work as we come onto the straight eventually? No, he can't. And then there's the move there further back. That is Scionti and Kasei having their battle for 11th on track right now. And Kasei currently winning out on that.
Yeah, very tricky for both of them there. I think Caminières took too much curve, otherwise he could have got alongside. And Sconti had the pace there, but not the width of the track to essentially attempt to move. As the drivers complete their 3rd lap, Crawford down to a 1:56.088. So we're edging ever closer to track record pace. Still a few seconds off, but with 13 laps to go, I'm pretty confident they could do it.
Yeah, Cameron Dass fallen to over a second now back from Crawford, and he was saying, you know, they didn't have the pace for pole position. They thought the track would develop a lot more than it did. and he was saying it was quite a tough car to drive actually in qualifying, but he felt like they had a good race car underneath him. But at the moment, he's a second back, but he's holding on to second quite comfortably from Louis Foster.
Yeah, and as we've seen at the pace of Nazem Azman as well, further back, clearly Motor Park and the Crypto Tower Racing team as well have got a very good race setup here. In addition to that, Louis Foster obviously in third place, kind of on his own right now. He is keeping tabs with Cameron Dass ahead, but he doesn't have to worry about Rafael Villagomez in his mirrors as we see them come out the chicane on the mid-style straight. Our top 4 cars quite a distance ahead of 5th already.
And there is also no further action on that investigation between cars 66 and 88. So that is Felipe Caminieres and Zdeněk Chovanec. So as you quite rightly hope for, there's no further action on that one. And also further back, Scionti has gotten past Kasei. So Scionti's trying to recover. He'll be looking to try and get in the top 10, hopefully. 2.5 back from Caminieres in 10th. So we'll see what Scionti can do from there. Last of the rookies at the moment.
Yeah, and he wants to ideally get back up to 10th place because that is where the final points position is. But 6th place is even more valuable than that, not only because you earn many more points for that, but also because it's reverse grid pole for race 2. As the drivers cross the line for the 4th lap completed, a 1 minute 55.6. So that's another kind of 8 tenths faster. They've gone that time by 1.1 seconds between our top 2 drivers. Jack Crawford hasn't actually done that much winning in Europe. He won quite a few races in ADAC F4, did a few Italian F4 rounds. I think he won 1 or 2 races there, but you know, most of his experience beforehand was in America, so that's where he learned his stuff. The
16-year-old from Charlotte in the USA, also racing in FIA Formula 3 this year, balancing that with Euroformula. He came second in the ADAC F4, so he's got good pedigree, and that just shows because, as we alluded to right at the start of the programme, Jack Crawford was hoping to get out racing last year, but he wasn't old enough yet for race 1 and race 2. He was still 15, and then in Portimao on the Sunday he turned 16 and could race finally, and had a pretty good run of it as well, finishing 7th. So now he's showing what his true potential is.
Yeah, and I mean, he was kind of advantaged at Algarve in that it's a fairly new track to all the Euroformula teams, although a lot of them do test there. And therefore, starting at the back, you know, not many drivers knew what the limits of the circuit were, and he could make his way up the order. Whereas Paul Ricard, you know, so much data here from last year that it's much harder, in addition to the circuit layout making overtaking difficult, harder to qualify at the back and then get to the front in the races.
Let's focus on this battle now, though. It's Josh Mason, the Brit from Birmingham, chasing down Nazem Azman, who was one of those who got a very slow start, was lucky to get away actually with no damage there, but Josh Mason can't quite get close enough at the moment. And
Mason was actually ahead of him earlier, so he's lost a spot in that, and now Azman's driving in front, so he was trailing Enzo Trulli previously.
And Trulli is way up the field now in a solid 6th place, and just under a second back from Casper Stevenson. So Trulli putting in a good effort for P6 currently, which would give him reverse grid pole for race 2 tomorrow. But Nazem Azman is hunting him down after that slow start. But this is your running order. 11 out of 16. Jack Crawford in first, Cameron Dass second, Louis Foster in third, Rafael Villagomez is in fourth, Casper Stevenson 5th, Enzo Trulli in 6th, Nazem Azman is 7th, Josh Mason is 8th, Zdeněk Chovanec, after a fierce battle with Felipe Caminieres, came out on top on that. He's 9th ahead of Caminieres, who is 10th. Enzo Scionti trying to recover from nearly stalling on the grid in 11th, and Vivian Kasei rounds out the field, currently 3.5 seconds off the pace in 12th. So a decent run from the rookies so far, 5 of them in the field. Jack Crawford will be hoping to finally open his account in Euroformula to get a podium, and I think he's going to probably do a little bit better than that, but whatever the case, he's going to want to open his account with a few more points as well, as we watch number 27 of Louis Foster, who had an interesting strategy race last time out in Portimao, because we're seeing with this new race format that's being introduced that actually post-race, it's post-race 1, it's all going to be about the strategy. And we saw Louis Foster actually, if you have a bit of an incident or have a troubled race, you can come in for that race 2 and try and get that fastest lap, can't you? And I suppose, when does the point come in race 1 where you start to think, actually, I need to secure, I'm going to try and secure pole position here if you're in and around that area?
It's a tricky one, because if, say, you're a sponsor or, you know, someone just watching your driver, you never want to see someone who's in 5th place deliberately try and get 6th place. However, if you're seeing someone in 7th place fight for their life to try and get 6th place, then obviously that's far more impressive. Generally, it comes down to tyre usage. So whether you know you've actually got the tyres to fight a little more, or if you realise, actually, if I concede a spot, you know, there's no point in me trying to stay ahead of that driver because actually I'm saving my tyres tomorrow and I've got more advantageous grid position for the next race. But at the same time, also some of these tyres are carried over throughout the race weekend. So if you're aware you do need to use those tyres for later races, you may as well not go for fastest lap, particularly in race 2 to race 3, just in case. Jack Crawford now 1.49 seconds ahead as they start their 7th lap of 16 in this race. Very impressive and consistent performance so far. 1 minute 55.8 was his last lap. 1 minute 55.8 was Cameron Dass's last lap. Very close.
Yeah, as it's starting to become a bit paced out of the 12 drivers. Jack Crawford leads the way, 1.4 seconds to Cameron Dass. Louis Foster a bit further back in third. Rafael Villagomez is sort of a bit in no man's land again, that 3rd, 4th and 5th. There's a couple of seconds space between them all, and then a further jump back to Enzo Trulli, currently in 6th, who's then got another further few seconds back to Nazim Azman, who's not able to make as many inroads as possible. I say that Trulli has just gone, set his fastest lap time as well, 1:57.2, but still a little bit off the pace of the top runners there. As we watch the top 2, Jack Crawford, Cameron Dass coming into shot. Cameron Dass from Baltimore. He's a bit of a Euroformula, I don't want to use the word veteran, but he's been in it a while, I think it's fair to say. But do you think that's been helpful for him in terms of, you know, now he's almost coming of age a bit? Because previously, his best finish has been 5th overall in the championship with 4 podiums in 2018. He's done the Toyota Racing Series as well. He's also doing FIA Formula 3 this year. So it's a very important year for Cameron Dass.
Well, he did FIA Formula 3 last year, Ricard, and he's moved to Motorpark for the whole of the Euroformula program. So this is his primary goal, is to win the title, and he's after winning all 3 races at Algarve, he's certainly on course to do that. Certainly in the case of this series, the experience in 2019 previously coming into 2020 completely changed, because the Dallara 320, not only was it a new car in the sense it was an upgraded car, but having the halo on the car completely changed the weight distribution and the balance, and all the teams had to really kind of look at their setup notes and go, well, this is for a car with this base weight and these dimensions. Now we've got all these new numbers we need to configure. So that changed that whole picture, and for a few teams it took a while to figure out, and for drivers as well. Coming into this year, he worked really hard over winter. He only had one thing to focus on, which was win this title, and therefore he's gone into it and done very well. And as we saw at Algarve, he won from further back in the order, which for junior single-seater fans may sound a little mysterious, but in Euroformula it's incredibly rare to genuinely win from like the back of the field or further back.
It is very, very tough. A field full of young, up-and-coming racing drivers who are all trying to be at the top of their game. They will make mistakes, but this is what it's all for, to learn from it and improve and go from there, as Dass carries on trying to chase down Jack Crawford, but he's just losing out a little bit in every sector, 1.7 seconds back at the moment. But we look back to some of our previous race winners here at Paul Ricard. In 2019, Liam Lawson in race 1, and Marino Sarta did it for race 2. Felipe Drugovic has done it as well. Ferdinand Hamsberg, all gone on to some pretty amazing things post their Euroformula life. And of course, not forgetting Yiffy Yi, our overall drivers champion as well. Crawford hoping that he can keep extending that gap. After 7 laps, it's 1.7 seconds, the gap between Crawford and Dass. Foster 3rd, Villagomez in 4th, Stevenson 5th, Trulli currently in reverse grid pole for race 2 in 6th, Azman 7th, Mason 8th, Chauvenet 9th, Cavanieres in 10th, Scionti in 11th, and unable really to make too many inroads after that slow start, and Vivian Kisei, who seems to be struggling a little bit in 12th place at the back of the pack.
Yeah, the field is certainly spread out, and with the tyre life of the Michelin here, I'm not sure if the data is truly going to be applicable from last year, because a lot of the drivers did expect it to drop off halfway through the races, and then with the higher temperatures we had last year, they suddenly found it did actually kind of last distance. With lower temperatures here, it might not be the case. Philippe Caminiard is in the pit, so Castelli's actually just gone up a place. Are we going to see white? No, we're going to see a replay of Cameron's. I see the heat haze coming out the rear of the car. That's how hot the engines get on these Euroformula cars. And you can see how loose the car is as well. It's very interesting to watch these cars in slow motion. The 320, because it's so stiff and very light, it moves around a racetrack very differently to other junior single-seater cars of today. And we're in the pit lane with Filip Kaminiarz.
Tak mi kurwa to ściska.
Ale to steering jest wszystko okej, tak?
Co?
Steering jest okej.
Tak, tak, tylko
Dobra,
mnie
steering.
ściska.
Well, doesn't seem happy.
No, you're taking the steering wheel off, but they seem to have clarified something because he was saying thank you and basically it was all done. But I don't think they'd solved anything there. They're just taking the steering wheel off. But we'll be able to see if he does exit the pits because our commentary box is looking over the pit lane. Jack Crawford's just set another fastest lap, 1 minute 55.354. Now 2.1 seconds ahead, and he's set personal best in the first 2 sections of this lap as well.
As we watch Louis Foster come through on track, the 2020 Euroformula made his debut actually. 1 win, 3 podiums to his name. With Double R then, he's moved over this year to Crypto Tower Racing, the reigning champions. Currently maybe starting to look a little bit in his mirrors, Louis Foster, Rafael Villagomez, but he's still a further 2.5 seconds back as we cut back to the pit lane. Oh, and we've got a driver out and driver off. Smoke, hand on helmet, something's gone wrong there, and that is Enzo Schionti in the number 35 DriveX. He does not look very happy over there. Smoke pouring out. That's not the fire extinguisher, is it?
I think it might. It was coming from the cockpit area. Potentially that is the case. It'd be very worrying if it is the engine. And because of that, we have got yellow flags at turn 7. So that's going onto the Minstrel Straight. That is quite concerning. Thankfully, we saw him jump out the car, but end of his race.
Yeah, not the day for Schionti, and that has brought out a safety car. So the safety car will be deployed and will pick up Jack Crawford after 9 laps, so we can safely get Enzo Schionti's DriveX car off track after what seems potentially an engine issue. We can see there on the right-hand side as Crawford comes through. Still a bit of smoke and whispering out from the cockpit area, but Schionti is out and is okay. But we do have a safety car after 9 laps here at the circuit. Paul Ricard. It's round 1, race 1 of the 2021 Euroformula. Van Amersfoort watching on. They'll be wanting their man Villagomez to try and make a few more places up. And it is quite amazing, actually, when you look at the Van Amersfoort Racing alumni. It is incredible. You might recognise a few of them: Max Verstappen, Charles Leclerc, Antoine Hubert, Callum Ilott, Mick Schumacher, Guido van der Garde, Jos Verstappen, Christian Albers, Richie Stanaway. The list goes on. It's incredible how many drivers have come up through that team.
Yeah, I've had some good chats with him about his days in Formula Ford back in the 70s and 80s, and lots of stuff about Dutch history, which you can of course read at Formula Scout if anyone's interested. But we'll go back to the racing. Crawford had set the fastest lap before the safety car came out. They're going at quite a pace still, presumably to catch the safety car. And they're going to want to keep the temperature in the tyres because it is only getting colder out here. And as soon as they do reach the safety car, which was lurking around turn 1, those temperatures are going to drop very, very quickly. And that's why cautions breed cautions, as they say in America, because when you go onto the restart, the brakes and the tyres are not up to temp.
No, and Crawford currently leading overall and first in the rookie championship as well as it currently stands. On track, Casper Stevenson, the second rookie, Enzo Trulli, the third, Zdeněk Chovanec, fourth, and Enzo Schionti currently out of the race. So we have lost 2 runners so far in the form of Filip Kaminiarz and Enzo Schionti. Kaminiarz with an unknown issue, coming back into the pit lane, having a chat with his engineers, steering wheel off and sat in the car, still in the pit lane, and Enzo Schionti having to flee his car rather rapidly with smoke pouring into the cockpit. So we'll try and find out what happened to those guys properly for you. But a run through the order as we're behind the safety car. Jack Crawford is first. Cameron Dass makes it an all-American 1-2 so far from Louis Foster. Rafael Villagomez in 4th. Casper Stevenson 5th. Enzo Trulli is in 6th. Nazim Asman 7th. 8th is Josh Mason. 9th, Zdeněk Chovanec, and then last of the runners currently in 10th place is Vivian Cassay. But what this does mean is, for the last part of the race, the pack will be very closed up. So we should hopefully be able to get some nice bits of racing manoeuvring happening in the final few laps, Elliot.
Yeah, it's as long as they can, because there's the temperature cycle, like a heat cycle of the tyres, so as long as they can get back into that performance window, they'll be able to push on the limit. Otherwise, it's going to be a bit scrappy in the final few laps if they're not quite sure if the tyres are going to be there and giving them the grip they want and need to, brake later than their opponents and things like that. Although they are going very, very slowly now, packed up behind the safety car. That's presumably because they have just passed Enzo Scionti's car, and actually I can see at the very back end of the circuit the clouds have moved away a bit, so it might be getting some sunshine at the final corner. There's no fans here to enjoy it, obviously because of the pandemic, but the drivers will enjoy it because it will help them get up to speed again.
Yeah, normally this place can fit 90,000 people, but sadly none in the stands this afternoon to enjoy the Euroformula and the International GT Open, which will be next up. Let's have a look at some of the action so far. That is Cameron Dass winding his way through this tricky circuit. A lot of the drivers are finding it difficult to really manage to put a full lap all together, saying that it does take a little while to properly get into a rhythm around this circuit, Paul Ricard. And also track limits again becoming more and more of an issue as we see the notification that the safety car will be coming in at this lap. I did suspect as much. They were going so slowly, and it is quite a long lap, especially behind the safety car. So hopefully that means they've cleared Enzo Scionti's car, and Scionti will be on his way. And Jack Crawford will bunch the pack up to let the safety car get away and come into the pit lane. Last minute bits of weaving to make sure they do properly get enough heat into their tyres, because it's so easy to spin these cars round on cold tyres, and the wrong place at the wrong time, and could lead to an incident, and that is your race done. Enzo truly will be wanting to have a watch out for Asman behind him as well, who will be hoping that he can make up for that poor start. But it will be Jack Crawford who will lead them away. You can't overtake until the line. Jack Crawford will lead the way into the final corner, and he is gone. And it is Jack Crawford, post-safety car, who leads the way from Cameron Dass, Louis Foster, Rafael Villa-Gomez in fourth, Casper Stevenson in fifth, and it looks like Foster is coming under pressure from Dass, or the other way around I should say, and that is Foster having a little look around the outside, getting very close, his nose almost touching the rear diffuser of Dass's car, but Foster unable to find a way through as of yet. Chauvenet there making his way through as well, and that is Dass coming under all sorts of pressure from Louis Foster, who has another little look around the outside. You're not going to be able to make it work there. Tucks back in behind him, wanted to keep a tight line as you can, which he does to try and get the inside from Dass. Dass having none of it, trying to get as much traction as possible, cuts back across him, saying, not today, Louis, not today. But that is Cameron Dass managing to hold on to second, which has allowed Crawford to get a 1.2 second gap.
Yeah, and here's a replay of the restart. Foster trying to get the outside, but there just isn't room, and then cutting back the inside. Actually, did bump the rear of his car. Yeah, luckily no damage, it appears. Crawford, really benefiting from that. He can relax now he's up front, but he's still got 5 laps to go. Although, having said that, 2 laps have just been added to the race time because of the safety car intervention.
Well, there we go then. So it is still all to play for. That's a 1.2 second lap for Crawford at the moment. And Dass seems to have been able to fend off Louis Foster for the moment. He's going to have to be looking in his rear mirrors at Rafael Villa-Gomez, who's seen that battle and thinks, I fancy a little bit of that as well. As Crawford does really start to pull a visible gap there. And we also have a little bit of a tight gap coming here as well between the number 18 of Nazim Asman and Josh Mason. These two have been together all afternoon as well. Mason relentless in his attack to try and get back in front of Asman, who he did manage to get earlier on in the race.
Yeah, he knows he can do a pretty spectacular move for the position, so he'll be wanting to do it again. It's getting very exciting. Actually, a lot of the drivers set their higher speed trap figures in the last lap because they're very close. Enzo Trulli locking up the left rear tyre. They're going into the final corner. He's currently in 6th place, so he's provisionally on pole position for tomorrow.
Currently all looking very good for Enzo Trulli, but Asman is just 2 tenths behind him now, having a little look, ducks in behind, out towards the right-hand side, out the outside line going into turn 1. Can Trulli fend him off? And that is Asman having to take to the runoff area, decides to completely cut that corner. He'll have to give that position back. But Trulli now really, oh, that looks like a problem. Oh no, it's not. Trulli just seems to be caught unaware there. Well, that's number 14, sorry.
That was Josh Mason.
Oh, Josh Mason, I should say.
Yeah. And he's going to try and go down the inside again, getting a bit messy, breaking track limits. and he's going to make the move, so Mason won't have to worry about that. He actually goes wide again, very slippy there. He's now under pressure from his teammate Zdeněk Chovanec.
And Truly has fallen all the way back down to 8th, and I'm so certain that Asman will have to give that position back. Let's have another look at it then, as we go into turn 1. And that is the number 18 of Nazim Asman, who just decides to completely cut the corner. But I don't think he's given that pace back yet. So he is currently in reverse grid pole. I don't think that will be allowed to stand, considering that did allow him to get in front of both Mason and Enzo Truly, who has sadly been done out there on 2 positions. But actually saying that, Truly has now got back in front of Josh Mason. So a change of position there. Mason not having the best time of it right now.
Yeah, it's a very complicated battle in the midfield. However, all 3 of them are going not only for points, but for pole position, which is a rare thing to do in a race, fighting for pole. You normally tend to do that in qualifying. Up front, Crawford's already a second ahead of Das again. And big lock up there for Josh Mason, the front left. That's possibly going to create a flat spot. We're not going to be able to see it from this camera angle, but if it is a flat spot, that's going to hurt, particularly in the first corner because it's a left-hander, but otherwise shouldn't be too much hassle.
It's Crawford from Das, Foster, Villa-Gomez and Stevenson, your top 5. Asman currently has reverse grid pole. I think he might, I think he has been asked, car number 18 has been asked to give back position to car 34. So that is Nazim Asman, who has to give back the position to Truly, who thankfully for Asman has got back in front of Mason, because otherwise Asman would have had to given 2 spots up to let Truly back through. So Truly should be in net 6th, but he's 1.9 seconds back from Asman at the moment. So Asman's going to really have to lift off, otherwise he'll get a penalty.
Yeah, it's quite a close. It's a difficult decision though, because when you do pull out that far, it's kind of unfair to a driver saying, can he bring all that advantage back, because you're clearly the faster car than the ones behind. But in that case, you'd probably try and give like a 2-second penalty or 1-second penalty, just so they only lose 1 position rather than potentially 2. Although having said that, we've been proven wrong again. Car 18 must give back position to car 34. So that is a 2-second gap he does have to nullify. He
will have to drop back otherwise and miss out on reverse grid pole. He's better to do that sooner rather than later and tuck in behind Truly and then try and get that reverse grid pole, because the longer he leaves it, the less chance he's going to have to A, give back that position, but also B, to give it back and then try and get back in front.
Yeah, and he'll probably get that message delivered to him on the pit wall as he comes round at the end of this lap. So there's still a few more seconds until he finds out that's the decision that's been made. And then he'll have quite a fight on his hands, I expect, because Mason is still 1 and a bit seconds behind Truly. So as soon as he does let Truly pass, Mason very likely will be on the rear of him.
Well, 13 laps have gone. Jack Crawford has been, well, unrivaled, I think it's fair to say, so far, setting the fastest lap time. He's just done his personal best speed in the time trap as well. So has Cameron Das, who's not giving up, but he has sort of been around the 1 second mark back the entire time. 1.3 seconds now back after 14 laps, but it is Jack Crawford who leads the way from Cameron Das. Asman has given the position back to Truly, and now he's going to try and have another look down the inside into turn 1. Can't do it there, or can he? Has he got through? I thought Truly might have been able to get the up and under there, but he hasn't. So as quickly as he gave it back, he's now back in front. So and that looks like now that Josh Mason has been able to get back into this battle, which is also bringing Chovanec in as well from 9th. So a great battle from 6th to 9th we're seeing right now.
Yeah, it's the position that counts, really. Yeah. Apart from the win, 6th place is the one everyone wants. And setting a personal best for the back of Zdeněk Chovanec, he's only 6 tenths behind, so he is definitely wants to get involved. Here's a replay from earlier on. Asman down the inside of Enzo Truly.
So he's just given it back probably right at the top of the hill, and then as soon as he breaks into the braking zone, he's back through again. So well played there from Asman, who clearly has the superior pace right now, but actually Truly is able to stick with him. And this has brought the number 21 car nicely into play as well, with Josh Mason, who's always been there or thereabouts. And they're dragging along with them Zdeněk Chovanec as well in that 66 sort of turquoise liveried car. And then a bit further back, you can see Kasei as well hanging on in 10th place. But a really tight battle between Truly and Asman right now for this, what will be 6th on the road, but crucially, pole position for race 2, thanks to this new Euroformula format that we have, which has really been a great success in making these races exciting and entertaining. It's brilliant to see.
Yeah, and the front end of Asman was getting very twitchy there onto the entry of 2 of the corners. I don't think he's going to be able to hold on to 6th place anymore. He's looking a bit uncomfortable in that car. Meanwhile, Casper Stevenson's closing in on Rafael Villagomez of 4th place. So we've got battles all across the grid right now.
Yeah, Crawford 1.5 seconds now in front, so it seems like he's almost checked out a little bit from Cameron Dass's compatriot as we look at this long car battle with Asman, Trulli, Mason, Chovanec, all fighting for 6th place. 7th is Trulli, Josh Mason in 8th, Chovanec in 9th. Chovanec as well, a rookie in the field along with Enzo Trulli. So lacking a bit of that race car experience, and Enzo Trulli has said, you know, he's still trying to get up to speed with actually racing an actual car, because it wasn't so long ago that he wasn't in a car.
Yeah, it's been quite the progression going F4 UAE, and then he was supposed to do Spanish F4, and there were talks of Italian F4 as well, and instead he's ended up doing Euroformula. Here's another replay, or actually, there it is a replay.
And that was Josh Mason getting all out of shape on the exit, and then has a late dart down to the inside, thinks better of it.
That was very close. That
could have been a bit of an incident, getting out onto the curbing. Does he hit the runoff area as well? A little bit.
He's actually all 4 wheels off the ground briefly. That's very impressive.
I think that might have been a bit of a heart-in-mouth moment for Josh Mason there, and then a quick dart to the right and decides, no, I'll just hold off for a minute and I'll wait. He hasn't been able to get past Trulli though, who holds on to 7th from Josh Mason, who's now about half a second back from Trulli and Chovanec, and then a further half a second back from Mason as well. So still quite tight with 2 minutes on the clock remaining. We've done 15 laps so far. Jack Crawford leads the way in that Red Bull liveried Euroformula car from Cameron Dass in the 28th black and white car, racing for Team Motorpark, the 2019 Euroformula champions, Team Motorpark as well. And this will be the final lap. Jack Crawford crosses the line, and 1.4 seconds is the gap back to Dass. Foster clinging on to 4th. We spoke briefly that Villagomez might have been catching up to 3rd place Foster, but it looks like he's fallen a bit back now, and that gap in the midfield has started to stretch out as well. So it seems like on this final lap that it will be the same unless something dramatic happens. But hey, never say never. It's Euroformula. But it is Crawford who leads the way, the Red Bull-backed driver from Charlotte, 16 years old, rookie in the field as well. So not just the rookie winner today, but the overall winner as well. Incredibly impressive stuff. It was only a few weeks ago in last round in Portimao where he wasn't allowed to race in the first 2 races because he wasn't old enough. He was not allowed to participate. He turned 16 for race 3. He finished 7th. He's back here and he's able to lead the way so far, and it's been a pretty flawless run from him.
Yeah, but he won't get fastest lap because Cameron Dass has just snatched it on the penultimate lap with a 1 minute 55.258. Crawford's responded with the fastest first sector of anyone and is faster in the second sector than Dass, but is it going to be enough to beat his previous effort? Because of course you do get a point for fastest lap as well.
It will be a last lap dash to try and get that fastest lap in the field. Jack Crawford sets a personal best sector 1, not so much in the sector 2. So he'll have to pull it out for this final sector if he wants to take the fastest lap as well. Come round the pit lane entry into the final corner, and it will be Jack Crawford who will cross the line here in France. Jack Crawford is your race 1 winner in Euroformula 2021 at Circuit Paul Ricard. A light to flag win for the 16-year-old American from Charlotte, the Red Bull back junior driver. A stunning display here today in France this afternoon. Cameron Dass will come home 2nd. It will be Foster in 3rd to round out the podium. Villagomez will come home 4th. Casper Stevenson is in 5th. He's the 2nd rookie as well. Nazim Asman holds on to 6th. He'll start the race 2 from pole position. And Enzo Trulli in 7th. Josh Mason in 8th. Zednek Chovanec is 9th. And it will be Vivian Kasei who comes home in 10th place for that final point. With Enzo Schionti and Philippe Cavaniers unable to finish the race. Enzo Schionti having to pull over on the side of the track, which of course brought out the safety car. But these are your final race results. Officially, Team Motor Park locked out the front row in qualifying. They've done it again in the race. Jack Crawford from Cameron Dass, an All-American, 1-2. Louis Foster in third, the British driver for Crypto Tower Racing Team. Rafael Villagomez, the Mexican for Van Amersfoort Racing, is fourth. Casper Stevenson in the other VAR car is fifth. Nazim Asman managed to get sixth place for Crypto Tower Racing Team, so we'll start from pole. Enzo Trulli just missing out, sadly, so he'll have to start seventh for race 2. Josh Mason in eighth. Zednek Chovanec in ninth, the two RR racing cars there, and Vivian Kasei in 10th. Enzo Scionti had to pull over after smoke billowed from his car. He was not able to finish the race, and Philippe Conier is also not able to. And let's look at your point standings. Cameron Dass leads the way now. 44 points is the gap for Louis Foster to overcome, with 53 points to second. Nazim Asman currently sits in third with 50 points, so a pretty solid weekend so far for him. He starts from pole tomorrow. Casper Stevenson is fourth, and with that win, Jack Crawford pops up to seventh in the championship, so really laying his mark.
Yeah, it's a very good start to the year, very good start to racing at this level of motorsport, and you can see why his very famous backers have backed him.
Yeah, it's no surprise when you look at the car there, the Red Bull backed driver. Every Red Bull back driver gets a Red Bull livery, but come with that is a lot of pressure to perform. But so far, he is doing the job here as Jack Crawford crossed the line to take the win for race 1 for his team Motor Park, and they all seem pretty happy with that, I think, and a very successful team as well. Second overall in the championship last year with Das and Maldonado, so they'll be wanting to carry on that form too with Jack Crawford, who balances FIA F3 this year alongside Euroformula, coming off the back of finishing second overall in the ADAC F4 Championship. Also done USF 2000, finished 7th in 2019, so he's got good pedigree, so you can see why he's backed by Red Bull. On that road to Formula 1, could we see him make his way up the ranks and become the next American F1 driver? Who knows?
Quite potentially, you know, there's a lot of work to be done, because although Euroformula prepares you very well for high downforce machinery, the Michelin tyre is very different to what you're going to race on in Formula 1. So, you know, luckily, you know, he is doing a double program this year. He's getting the experience across both sides. And you know what? I'm going to run down to the podium right now.
Off you go then. Enjoy. Say hi to them. Jack Crawford steps out of his car. A very happy chap indeed. Cameron Dass there. A nice pat on the back as well. He should be happy with that. Started second, finished second. Just didn't have the pace, it seemed, today. And then there's your third man, Louis Foster, who'll be pleased with that. Manages to close the gap ever so slightly, but in the championship. But should we have a little listen in, see if we can hear anything juicy?
No, you didn't.
Oh no, they decided to cut. They decided to cut away before we hear anything too interesting. But Jack Crawford there be very happy with that, as will Team Motor Park as well. So we will have the podium ceremony as well up next for Crawford, Das and Foster. Villagomez will be satisfied with a fourth place, I think, as well. And Nazim Asman very satisfied with sixth, because that will mean he will start pole for race 2, having had that awful start off the line just an hour or so ago. And that top 6 will be reversed for race 2. So the grid tomorrow will be Asman in first, Stevenson second, Villagomez third, Foster fourth, Das in fifth, and Crawford in sixth. And then, as it stands, Trulli will be 7th, Mason 8th, Chovanec 9th, Kasei in 10th, Scionti 11th, and Cavanier. Still, I'm not sure quite what happened to those bottom 2 runners. Scionti was all fine, managed to get out of his car, despite it smoking, but the car extinguisher doing its job, and that, of course, brought out the safety car. Well, here we go then. Louis Foster for Crypto Tower Racing Team is your third place man for this afternoon. In second place, Cameron Dass. Not able to repeat his winning ways from Portimao, but second will do for now. And Jack Crawford is your race winner for Team Motor Park. Let's hear from him now.
Jack Crawford, first win in the Euroformula. It was a lights to flag win, but not that easy.
No, it's not easy, especially when you deal with a safety car at the end, because You don't know what could happen. But yeah, the pace was good, and thanks to Motor Park and everyone for giving me a fast car. And yeah, at the beginning, the gap was staying around the same, but then I think I started to open up a bit. And yeah, it was a good race, and happy to get the win.
Confident for the rest of the weekend?
Yeah, obviously it's a bit difficult with the reverse grid. You have to pass some cars, so it's a bit of a different race. But if we can get the quickest lap tomorrow and start pole, I think the race could be quite similar to today.
Euroformula kicked off in race 1 in France with a bit of a messy start for a couple of drivers. Nazim Azman slow, as well as Enzo Scionti, but it was Jack Crawford who managed to get off the line best in front of Cameron Dass. So 1 and 2 staying that way as we entered the first couple of corners, as all the rest of the field managing to slot their way through unscathed. Enzo Scionti managed to get going in the end, further back in the pack, and Enzo Trulli in the other DriveX car struggling. That was what brought out our safety car. Enzo Scionti's DriveX having a bit of a moment there with fire in the cockpit, but then we got back underway for the safety car restart, which really closed up the pack, and Dass came under a lot of pressure for a little bit from Louis Foster, who for one moment got very close indeed to the diffuser of the Team Motorsport car in front of him, as Enzo Trulli again struggling with locking up throughout. He was trying to hold on to reverse grid pole, which was 6th, and then we had this last late dash battle, a great little battle in the midfield between Azman, Trulli, Mason and Chauvenet, all trying to fight for that 6th place, but no one could battle Jack Crawford, who qualified on pole position and stayed there until the race end to win race 1 here in Circuit Paul Ricard for Euroformula, and a very happy man indeed. He'll be happy, Red Bull will be happy, and I'm sure America will be happy as well, because it is American 1-2 with Cameron Dass there on your left in 2nd, Louis Foster, the Brits, in 3rd, from Odium in the United Kingdom, and there is your top man Jack Crawford for Team Motor Park, and the winning team as well there on the far left, and we'll have the US national anthem. Well, there is your race winner, Jack Crawford, who wins race 1 here for Euroformula. Will join us again for race 2. We'll see you then. In the meantime, it's the International GT Open up next.
Avec les trophées bien en l'air pour le